If you have ever thought that healthy living is complicated, or it must be complicated because you feel like you're doing all the things and it's not working, what if it's the simplest things that are actually going to move the needle the most? The things that are going to help you have sustainable health and wellness. So, a lot of times we're overcomplicating our health and our wellness. We're trying this diet, we're trying that diet, we're trying to eat more protein, we're trying to do this, we're trying to go keto, and all of these different things that are going around. And sometimes those things, though they can be used, they can really complicate things. So I think it's really important to get to a place where you are at a sustainable foundational place. And it really is the simplest things. So today I am breaking down the core habits that quietly and simply build real health. These are some of the things that have changed my life, and these are some of the things that have changed clients' lives as well. So stay tuned. So I believe that real health and stewardship, it has to start somewhere. So before we recognize that we're stewards over something, we have to see what's in front of us. We have to see what we've been given to manage. Everything on this podcast is about lifestyle stewardship. And you can't manage what you don't recognize that you have. And one of the things that I think is really important is that we recognize that this body that God has given us, there are certain inputs that are going to impact it, you know, for the positive side of things, or it's going to negatively affect our health and our wellness, therefore impacting how we're able to steward everything else. And I don't believe that it's about extremes because God has given us so much grace. I believe it really is about being intentional about what you've been given. That's what stewardship really is. And if we're unaware of what's going on in our body, or if we're just, haphazardly trying to manage our health and not really paying attention, I think that that's where it really starts. It starts with being aware with the condition of your health, the condition of your wellness, and then from there understanding what the body needs and what it is or isn't getting. So when you start with foundational pieces, you're going to be getting what the body needs. It really is about stewardship and consistency and intentional approaches to our health and our wellness. This is not about perfection. This is not about extremes. This isn't about doing every new diet that has come about and just throwing things at ourselves, so to speak, to just here, figure it out, do this. And so many people are confused because of this piece that I believe is missing, and many people are getting frustrated and they feel like, "Oh my gosh, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be eating?" Or the doctor says, "Eat this or don't eat that." And you start having all of these thoughts about food, and you start having all of these approaches to food that may not necessarily be serving the body that God has given you because you heard someone say that you should or shouldn't be doing something. And that's one of the benefits of working with someone is you get to see their whole health history. You get to see lifestyle factors. You get to see all of these things that really do fill in the blanks that going to the doctor for 5 minutes and having some sort of ailment and having that addressed, it really doesn't get to the heart of and it doesn't get to the root cause because that 5 minutes that you're spending in a doctor's office is not going to be answering the everyday day-to-day questions, right? That doctor's not walking around with you all hours of the day. Typically, you're just going for your annual checkup, or if you have some sort of ongoing condition, you're going to the doctor and you're seeking some sort of help or support with what you're feeling in your body. But if you never get to the root cause of what that is, then you're just going to see someone here and there, and they're not even listening to all the things that are going on with you on a day to day basis, right? They're not living in your body, you are. So I think it's really important that we recognize that part of stewardship is really intentionally seeing what we are dealing with and what's going on in our health and our wellness, and then going from there. So there are certain things I'm going to jump into the things that can really begin to move the needle for you and to be some really important foundational pieces that have made a huge impact on my health and my family's health. And it really is the approach. So it's the approach of how we are going through our days, what we're eating, what we're intentionally doing for and to our bodies. So one of the things that's really, really important that needs to be said, blood sugar regulation is so important. blood sugar regulation is going to impact if we're not eating, balanced meals, it's going to look like a lot of fluctuations in our hormones. It's going to look like just crazy sleep patterns. It's going to look like energy crashes. It's going to look like cravings. And when we are not focused on regulating our blood sugar by making really good choices with what we're eating and eating real whole foods, that is going to impact our health in a way that is going to impact our entire day, right? So if you're starting the day with something like, I'm going to pull out like just a typical thing that I used to eat, growing up or when I was younger, and I would have like a bagel with cream cheese and a coffee, and I would go to this little stand in the morning and this is way back in the day, right? And I would get a small coffee and a cinnamon raisin bagel slathered with like a half inch thick of cream cheese and queens, and that was my breakfast. So I'm starting my day in an extremely imbalanced way. Some people may start their day with a bowl of cereal or a big bowl of oatmeal or whatever. And these things aren't bad in and of themselves. But if they are imbalanced, our blood sugar is going to be imbalanced. And that's going to impact our hormones, our energy, and our hunger cues for the rest of the day. So, checking in with how you feel after you eat something is extremely important because what may work for someone may not work for you, and what may make you feel good may not be the thing that you're currently eating, especially if, like I said, you're starting your day in a way that's going to shift your hormones all over the place and really have you feeling hangry and shaky in between meals. That's a sign of blood sugar dysregulation. And that's not something that any of us want to feel. I know I don't like feeling that. And the more that you can really begin to take notice of how you feel, and then saying, "You know what? I did have a big cup of orange juice this morning," or "I did have coffee with a lot of sugar and creamer and all of the things, all the fancy drinks," right? I did have that, and I do notice that I feel really irritable and my head hurts. There's so many things that you can begin to look at and notice if you decide to look at and notice. So, you don't need a billion rules when it comes to eating. If you are intentionally building a plate of food that is going to nourish and sustain your body and give it what it needs, you don't need 50, 11 different approaches to your health and your wellness. You don't need a million different, I don't know, like a green drink, and then you have, I don't know, there's so many things going on. I've I've been on YouTube for a little while now, and I'll look at some other people's videos, and some of the things that people start their day with, I'm like, wow, that's a lot going on. And it looks anything but simple. And I'm not saying that these things are wrong because they have found what works for them, but if you try to approach your wellness with what someone else is doing and not considering and being aware of how you feel, even when you eat certain foods, you may be working against your own foundations and what's going to be really beneficial to your health and to your wellness, what's going to make you feel good. So that 50-step morning routine may work for that person that you're following or watching, but is that going to work for you? Is that what your body even needs or requires? So if you're in a different stage of life, say you are postpartum, there are certain things that even before you had your child that worked for you that may no longer work for you because your body's different, right? I'm going to bounce back and all this stuff after baby. And you're following people that may be doing that. But if you're starting if you're not starting with nourishing your body after your body has given so much, you may not really reap the benefits of even, taking that supplement or trying that new thing or eating things that should work for you. They may not work for you because you're in a different season of life. But building your plate looks like having a healthy protein source. It looks like having healthy fats, and it also looks like having colorful food on your plate. And there are a lot of other extremes going around and they work for people. And here's the thing about health and wellness. There are a lot of things that can work for a time but hurt you in the long run. So doing something for a short amount of time to get your body back to baseline, that can be great. But if you're just doing an extreme to get a specific outcome that doesn't consider your health, then it may be working against you and harming you in the long run. That's why foundations are so important. If you're focused on getting real whole food and protein from those sources of real whole food, getting healthy fats and getting colorful things on your plate, then you are going to be giving your body the foundational things that it needs. So the body needs proteins that it's going to break down into essential amino acids that you must get from your food. And when you have the right amount of this, your body is able to do things like rest and repair and rebuild tissues, and your body uses it for DNA. And it's amazing the amount of things that protein does in the body, and we literally cannot live without it. So, protein is essential, but it is also essential to get your protein from a place that is a whole food source, and that's not something that's made in a lab somewhere. So, real whole food, that's going to look like wild caught fish. That's going to look like grass fed beef. That's going to look like pastured chicken if you can get it. All these things I'm talking about the best that you can get, but obviously get what works best for you. I'm not here to tell you exactly the way to eat, but just to give you the foundation so that when you're going to the grocery store, you can meet your body's needs so that it can then do what God created it to do. But foundationally, that is what we all need baseline across the board. Whether you have a food allergy or intolerance or sensitivity, you have an autoimmune condition, you're in a different season of life. This is the one thing I think that we can all agree on. Real whole foods are the way to go. Foundationally, the less that you're eating out of a package that has ingredients, the better for you and the better for your health. So then it's avoiding things that are going to cause inflammation in your body. And if you know specifically what's going to cause inflammation for you, avoid those things. So many of you watch the Stewardship YouTube channel or listen to the podcast, and you eat a gluten free or dairy free kind of diet because you may have an autoimmune condition or celiac, or you may be cutting it out for a time to get your body back to a place of baseline, or you have gut health issues. So, all of those things, that's a lot of the people that follow and watch the channel, avoiding the things that are going to cause issue for you. So that also looks like avoiding things that cause inflammation for many people because of what has been done to it in our country. So that's going to look like soy, corn, wheat. That's going to look like vegetation oils. I don't even like calling them vegetable oils or plant oils or seed oils. They are oils that, though they have been refined and used from things that grow from the ground, they're not inherently safe for you. And then the process at which they have extracted these oils is really, really detrimental to our gut health, our microbiome. It has major impacts on our body when it comes to inflammation within the cell. So that's why if you see people are like, oh, I cut out seed oils, I cut out seed oils. When you're eating real whole foods, you're eating fats that come from a real whole place. So that's going to look like unrefined coconut oil, that's going to look like ghee, which is clarified butter, if you can tolerate some sort of dairy. That is going to look like avocado oil if you're cooking with high heat. And that is also going to look like olive oil if you're using that for a dressing or a vinaigrette or just a little saute in a pan. So those are the ones that we want to lean more towards because they're not highly refined and they are natural. They've been around for years and years and years and years and years, right? And that's also going to look like things like duck fat or animal fat like tallow. So also the quality of what you're putting on your plate matters. If it is something that comes out of a package, looking for things that have not been genetically modified or altered, man-made alterations, right? To our food, these food-like things that can sit on a shelf for eons, right? Bread should not be able to sit on the shelves for months and months and months and months. If you've ever baked bread, even if it's just a gluten-free loaf or something, you know that bread is not going to go beyond a certain amount of days because it doesn't have all these crazy preservatives in it. And if you're unaware, that preservatives are actually antimicrobial ingredients. And whenever we're taking those things in, those things are impacting our gut health because they are literally antibacterial. an antimicrobial. They don't want anything to grow on this bread that is sitting there, but the things that are quote unquote growing on there are part of a natural system that God created of decay. And the more something has a preservative in it, the more detrimental it is to our gut health. So keeping that in mind, real whole foods, things should go bad, right? Things should spoil, things should mold because that is the natural decaying process. And whenever we are putting that off, it's really important to start thinking about, okay, well, what's in it that's keeping it from doing that, right? Because that is a natural process. And I'm thankful for innovation and for refrigeration and for freezers and for all of those things. I love that. At the same time, that innovation has also caused us to become reliant and unsuspecting also of how those things are being preserved and what that's doing in turn to us when we're ingesting those things. So, consistent sleep. I know very few people that take real rest. As a Christ follower, we are taught about the Sabbath. We're taught, a day of rest, right, was created for us to rest, for the people of God to rest. And this is something that in our fast pace and in our innovations and all the things that we're doing, like we're picking up our phone constantly and we're constantly plugged into something. I think it's really, really important to one step away from those things to guard our hearts. I shared that in, I believe, the last episode on how Christians can guard their heart and the different things that God shared with me about just taking certain apps on my phone and removing certain distractions and taking things away so that my brain can even rest. So back in the day, I think it was more of an, agricultural society. So people were out and they were farming their land and that's how they got their food. They were raising their cattle and raising their animals and all of that. If you're a homesteader, you already know about this. I have a great deal of respect for you. But in doing that, when they were resting, they were physically resting. Now I think we live in a time of this information age and this technological age and this age of AI and all these things that we are constantly inundated with something and we are constantly plugged into something. So I think it's really important to step away so we can get mental rest and have that emotional rest so that we can actually just not be distracted so we can have that intentional spiritual rest as well. And going really takes its toll on your emotional health and your mental well being as well. Being plugged into something constantly, same thing. Hydration, drinking water, right? This sounds like something that is so simple and obvious. And that is probably that's the point of this podcast because these are the things that I quietly, if you do them consistently, make such a huge, huge, huge impact on your health. If you are say you're drinking tap water, for example, the amount of chemicals that are in tap water are just not great for us. So if you can just get a filter, some sort of filter, a pitcher filter. When we were in our apartment, that's what we used. I'll link some below that we really liked that would remove things like chlorine, and fluoride. So this can start off at like $20 and this can go up to, I mean, thousands. But do what works best for you and replacing something as simple as instead of drinking out of a bunch of bottles of water, which I know, some people are doing that, a bottle of water, you can get like a life straw and you can fill up your bottle with any water and it is going to clean all of those things, the contaminants out of your water. Anything that's going to sit in plastic, well, after a certain amount of time, that plastic, those microplastics will leach into that bottle of water. And when we're getting bottles of water, we have no idea how long they've been sitting there, just like the bread. We don't know how long those things have been sitting there. And the impact that that has on us on a cellular biochemical level is really, really scary. And I don't say this to scare you, but these modern conveniences of grabbing a bottle of water, if you're doing it here and there, it's better to be hydrated than to not be hydrated. But if you are exposing yourself to a bunch of microplastics over time, all of these things build up, just like all of these simple health habits build up over time. If you do them consistently and compound into good health, the same goes for doing things that are harming our health over time. If we are consistently doing those things compound. So being hydrated is super, super important. Our cells need it. Our brain needs it. Our gut needs it. If you're someone who struggles with a lot of migraines and things like that, you might be dehydrated. It's as simple as that. And what I like to do is I start my day with a big cup. Everyone in my household, we have a stainless steel cup and we just get filtered water out of the fridge and we'll add minerals to that water. And adding minerals does not have to be complicated. It can be as simple as adding a pinch of sea salt. And first thing in the morning, drinking that cup of water. It's that simple because many times people will immediately reach for coffee. Well, coffee's a diuretic, or immediately reach for I don't know, a diet soda or something like that. And you're right from the jump. You have slept, hopefully, you slept at least 7 hours, but you have gone all that time without water. You wake up in a state of dehydration and just restoring some of those electrolytes so things work. You can do a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of lime and a pinch of sea salt and start your day with that before you drink anything else and have at least 8 ounces of water. Simple, right? But most people don't do that. People that I've worked with, that I've spoken to, do not do that. Start with what you have, where you are, and what you can, what you do have access to, and then go from there and build upon these really, really simple, healthy habits. So, if you are someone who eats a gluten free and dairy free lifestyle, there are a lot of substitutions out there and they're not all healthy. Going gluten free and dairy free doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be healthy because so many of those things that we can be taking in are just as processed, if not more processed, than some of the things that we're eating before. That's why I emphasize whole, real food because if your food has a label, then chances are someone has refined that food in some way. And I've spoken about this before, and it's just a personal goal of my household. And it's one of the things that I've been sharing even in the grocery hauls on YouTube. And it is trying to be more of an ingredient household so that you're eating those real whole foods and then creating meals and snacks and things like that from there. If you need some snack ideas and things like that, you can head over to the YouTube channel if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. And if you're just listening to the audio, you can look at all the videos that I've done. You can also go to the website, styleandstewardship.com, where I share recipes and different snacks that I like to make every single week that our family uses. And they're so much more satiating than buying, a bag of chips and things like that, which there are healthier options for that. I share that on the channel as well. But it's when your meals are real, your body and your food is real, your body does not have to guess what the heck to do with it. If you're taking in a bunch of microplastics, anything you put in the body will do something with, right? God created it that way. It's going to send it somewhere. It's going to do something with it and it's going to have some sort of impact on your health and your wellness. So, light movement. Walk every day. If I could give you any advice, any suggestion, it is something God created our bodies to do. Walk every single day. Whether that is take a walk around your neighborhood, if you have a walking pad, I personally have a walking pad. If you have a large yard, do a couple of laps around your yard. I do this all the time. And move. The body in motion tends to stay in motion. I've heard that quote, I forget where, but it's really true. The body actually needs to move, and that helps with so many different things. Like your body has a system called a lymphatic system, and this system houses white blood cells, which do a lot of things in the body, including, killing pathogens that shouldn't be there and removing waste products from the blood, all of the things. I can get into that in a completely different episode. But your lymph in your body doesn't naturally drain by itself. It has to have some sort of movement. That can look like a light jog, that can look like a fast-paced walk, that can look like doing some air squats, that can look like doing some tapping and lymphatic drainage so you can get those things to move out of the body. And time outside, it is so important. We or if you're someone who doesn't have the ability to, for whatever reason, maybe you are, I don't know, in a situation where you can't walk a lot, you're going through an autoimmune flare and it hurts to move or something like that. Everyone has a different starting point with this. But if you can, open up the windows in your house and turn your system off, turn your HVAC off, and allow just real air to flow through your house. It makes a huge difference. And just going outside, whether it's maybe you need to walk to the mailbox or I don't know, whatever it is for you. But this, harkens back to the point that I made a little while ago. Walking, getting outside, getting in nature. I started a garden, and sometimes it is as simple as having a reason to go outside. I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm just going to be outside. And I know people that'll just like sit on the porch. I have to be doing something in order to want to be outside and have a purpose in doing that. So maybe it's weed eating. This past year we started a garden and I go outside and sometimes we're out there for an hour just, enjoying the garden. And as it's getting cooler and depending on which part of the United States you're in or wherever you may be watching this, it's getting colder, but you can take a brisk walk outside somewhere. But getting real just I don't know what it is. Letting the sunlight hit your eye, that resets your circadian rhythm, helps you sleep at night. It also helps with getting vitamin D in. And those are just really, really simple things that you can do that are going to they're going to set you up for success. You don't need like a crazy morning routine. You just need these consistent rhythms in your life that are just day to day habits that are going to slowly build your health and your wellness over time. And I tell people to consider this before they're just jumping into every new thing that's come about. Oh, this new diet or that, and all of these promises that these things are going to make you healthy, but or going to the doctor like that's going to make you quote unquote, that's going to heal and fix everything. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. I'm not saying don't try a specific eating approach for your health and your wellness, but I am saying you have to like not you don't have to do this. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want to, right? But thinking like, am I hydrated before I reach for Tylenol? Do I have a headache because I'm dehydrated? How much caffeine have I had? For every 8 ounces of caffeine you've had, you need to drink like the equivalent of 2 to 4 8-ounce cups of water because it depletes the body of water. So maybe you don't need a Tylenol, maybe you need water. you know, just little simple things like that. And they sound obvious, but it's really helpful if you're giving your body what it needs because there are a lot of things that we're experiencing that are coming from our lifestyles. And that's why I'm on the holistic side of things because it's the whole picture of your health and your wellness. It's not just one area that's impacted, it's the whole area. It's how much sleep you got. Was it restful sleep? Was it enough rest? Are you taking time away from all of the chaos of the world? Are you plugged in and having all the pings and dings on your phone that are constantly having you on edge and having your nervous system worked up? Are you in fight or flight when you're eating your food? Are you eating real whole foods or is everything from a package and is everything rushed? Are you spending time outside at any point in time, allowing the sun to hit your eyes and to hit your skin? Are you doing things that bring joy to you? Are you spending time in scripture? Are you reading your Bible? Are you praying? And all of these little simple things are so crucial when it comes to actually being well and what that looks like. So I believe that God has created our bodies to give us all of this feedback, right? We call them symptoms, but it really is biofeedback. It's feedback that the body has given us based on the type of life we're exposing our bodies to and the lifestyles that we're living. So if we are in constant states of stress, that's going to impact our body, which means that we are going to need more support, not less. So when people are in these really, really stressful times of their lives and they're doing things like trying a really restrictive diet or something that just flips their world upside down on purpose, that can really cause a setback. And it's not a setup. Like it's not a setup for success. It is typically a setback. But here's the thing, whether you have struggled in your health and your wellness, whether you have struggled with some sort of condition, all of these things, God knows and He is not surprised and He is right there with us in it. And I truly believe that He made our bodies to give us these signs so that we know when things are off, right? It's important that we use this wisdom that God's placed in our bodies so that we can make choices that help us to steward our health and our wellness overall. But we're not chasing quick fixes over here, and we're not doing crazy fad diets. And I'm not going to encourage you to do 50, 11 things that will not build or help your health and your wellness. But when you're approaching taking information like this, and it's crucial that you're making sure that it applies to you. And that's why I wanted to start with this episode, because setting those foundations is going to make one of the biggest impacts on your health and your wellness. It's so simple. It really is. It's so simple. If you need help sifting through what that looks like for you, if you need encouragement, mentorship, guidance on really building a plate that makes sense for your body, considering the things that you can and can't eat at this point, and your sensitivities, all of the things, be sure to click on the link below and we can get on a call to help you and just support you in your health and your wellness. So you can click the link on that below. I just want to just help you build healthy foundations so that you can steward your health and your wellness. That is what I'm here to do. That's what I'm here to share with you. But I want to ask you, what's one small healthy habit that's made a difference personally for you? You can comment that below. You can also leave that on Spotify. There's an area now where you can leave comments. You can leave a comment there. I read all of them, and I would love to know what's making a huge impact on your health or your wellness. What simple change have you made where you have noticed a benefit to your health and your wellness? It may help someone else. So be sure to share that below. Share this with someone else. Leave a written review if this has helped you or encouraged you. Until next time, your life matters. What you do with it matters. So what will you steward well?